I believe that I could beat Barack Obama. Otherwise, why would I even be contemplating a run? And again, of course, it is only contemplation at this time, but I'd be in it to win it.
Wow. Welcome back to Hardball. That was Sarah Palin last night with Fox's Sean Hannity. Her book tour launched today, and she's saying plenty of things to get everyone's attention. Here's a little more. Let's listen to Sarah Palin.
What is it that our country needs? We know we need common sense. We know we need experience in the Oval Office. We know we need someone who believes in time-tested truths and a restoration of all is good and exceptional about America versus the transformation of America that presently we see coming out of the Oval Office. If there is no one whom I feel is in a position to be able to beat Barack Obama, and if I feel that I am the candidate who can beat Barack Obama, I will run.
Well, how much of 2012 will center around Palin's pondering? And will it even matter if the economy continues to improve and raises President Obama's re-election prospects with it? Pat Buchanan's an MSNBC political analyst, and former Colorado Senator Gary Hart is the author of a new book called The Thunder and the Sunshine. Thank you, Senator, for joining us tonight. Senator Hart, you know, you came so close in '84. I mean, it was so close until the way that you won like 7 out of 9 contests on Super Tuesday back in '84, I remember, and somehow the media decided that the other guy was still in the race, Walter Mondale, and he turned the corner on you. What do you think this race looks like this time?
Much too early to say, obviously. It is amusing to hear the former 2-year governor of Alaska talking about the need for experience in the Oval Office, but I think we're going to hear a lot of that kind of nonsense.
Let me ask you, Pat, this race, I know early it is. I remember Jack Germano always says these early polls don't mean anything. But let's take a look at this lineup right now because it is interesting. I find it fascinating that Sarah Palin right now is leading 19 points in the Quinnipiac poll. Obviously, her name ID must be about 100. Mitt Romney's is also very high. He's at 18. Nobody is blowing it away. Nobody's getting over 20 points, which is, to me, interesting. Mike Huckabee, who is much less well-known than those two, is up there even with them, basically, at 17. And you got Newt Gingrich, which is he's probably got a huge negative. He's up there at 15. And Pawlenty, who's very unknown, is at 6. What does that tell you? Anything?
Yeah, it tells me that those four are the front four, and I don't think any candidate will break through and beat them unless he's got either what Goldwater had and McGovern had, which is a great cause, Chris, and I don't see a cause candidate out there, or charisma. Now, Reagan had cause and charisma when he ran against Ford and ran him even pretty much in that race to the nomination. But I think you're going to get your nominee out of those four, and if Palin runs, I think the only thing that can stop her from being the conservative candidate that goes down to the wire as against the establishment candidate is a Huckabee getting in there, taking away those votes and maybe beating her in Iowa.
What do you think about the power of the West, Senator? I get the feeling that Palin is very smart to play on geography. She plays up the Mama Grizzly role. She plays up the fact she's from the Northwest. You're from Colorado. You're a Westerner. Is that something that she could start with and it could really give her a hook that the other candidates from the East and the more traditional power centers of the country don't have?
Well, 2 observations, Chris. First of all, Pat's thought about the conservative versus establishment candidate seems to me every candidate's going to be conservative. It's a question of who's the farthest right. And second, the only poll that matters right now is one that could be taken among the activists. The first primary is who gets the activists, who gets the people in Iowa, New Hampshire who are, again, as Pat said, motivated by a cause or a personality. And these broad-based polls of all Republicans or people at large just simply don't mean a thing.
Pat, well, you had the activists, you had the pitchfork people. I saw you up in New Hampshire. Well, those are lively rallies. You got people out. You beat Bob Dole up there.
Right. Well, here's my problem is I was unable to clear the field of other challengers. Forbes' money kept him in, and Keyes' motivation kept him in, so they drained off an awful lot of the anti-establishment Republican vote, and I needed it all, and I didn't get it all. Now, you take Reagan, when he was in there against Ford, he got it all. 1980, I disagree with this extent with Senator Hart. There are establishment Republicans, Senator Hart's right, they're all going to run as conservatives, but some are authentic, and others are basically Washington-based, establishment-based. But, Chris, where you're somewhat mistaken, I think, is this. Palin does play against the East and the media, but inside Delaware, there was obviously enough Republican conservatives to knock off the most popular Republican in that state.
Yeah, let's take a look at this New York Times poll. Recently analyzed a new prediction by a Yale economist named Ray Fair. Never heard of the guy. But he writes, if the recovery is robust, which my economic model predicts, that's his economic model, will begin to happen in the middle of 2011, Obama wins easily. If the recovery is only modest, the election will be close with an edge for the Republicans. If there's a double-dip recession, Obama loses by a fairly large amount. Well, that has to be the most obvious prediction I've ever heard in my life, Senator. He's basically saying, if the economy is strong, bet on Obama. If it's bad, bet on the Republican. I don't know how you get the PhD by thinking at that length, but my thought is this. Right. It seems to me that when you went in that race in 83 and 84, when you were running, and you were a real contender with Mondale there, you were the outside guy, he was the inside guy. We all know that. But it seems to me that nobody knew that the unemployment rate would drop down to that magical number of 7. And all of a sudden, Reagan is morning in America. They're running the ads. The sun shines going. He beats the heck out of Mondale, beats him 49 states. What do you think the unemployment rate has to get down to for this president? He's up around 9.5 now. It's stuck up there. Does he have to get down? I mean, can we all be economists here and say this election turns on one number? If it's down to 6, Obama's in he could be doing anything and it'll be 6. If it's up around 9, no matter how sweet his talk, he's gone. Your thoughts on the number?
Well, let's say if it's 4, he gets reelected. I don't think there's a magic number. If the perception is that people are going back to work and companies are finally investing in productivity and new technologies, and people are feeling optimistic, then he gets reelected.
I don't know
if it's
about
morning
that.
in America again.
I don't know about that for this reason. Obama it's astounded me, white America has just abandoned him, and it's still a huge part of the electorate. Secondly, he got that victory on the enthusiasm, energy, and fire of young people, African Americans, and Hispanics. I don't see that energy and enthusiasm yet, and Chris, quite frankly, Obama's been demonized in the eyes of the American people, a huge number of them out there who might normally drift Democratic, to an extent that I couldn't have imagined 2 years ago when he had that huge celebratory event on the Mall.
Well, yeah, but, when Reagan was demonized as well in 1982, as we all remember, he lost 26 seats. I was on the other side. I know the success all the Democrats felt. And they looked at Gary Hart, and they looked at Mondale as real potentials at that point.
Reagan was rooted in middle America. There's no doubt about it. I don't think Obama is, or he's not perceived to be.
Well, that's right. But when you say white America, Pat, it seems to me like you're really, of course, but you're basically saying that he has the loyalty of Hispanic and African American voters that sticks with him through terrible times. The question is whether the general population will come back to him when the times get better. Your thoughts, Senator Hart, by the way, tell us briefly your book, The Thunder and the Sunshine, a memoir, a political memoir, would you say?
That's exactly right. It details the McGovern campaign, the 2 Senate terms, and a number of interesting experiences that I had afterwards, including remaking the Russian telephone system, among other things. But it really is an effort to create some history, not create it, but to portray the history of the last 40 years through my eyes, at least, and I try to do so fairly. Thank you for asking.
Well, we'll be back on that. I want to read that book. We'll have you back on that at some point. Thank you so much, Pat Buchanan. Thank you, Gary Hart.